Yo, what up, street gods? Eric Kim. All right, the thought on virtue. So it's funny, like, you know, philosophers have been philosophizing on virtue forever, but as of late, we really haven't had the opportunity to philosophize on virtue. Now, I think this is a really important thing because, we got we got vice, right? Which I think is super cool, right? But we need the opposite. We also need virtue. So, thanks to Nassim Taleb and some other writers and thinkers as of late, the notion of virtue is kind of becoming a concept again, which is good. So for example, there's a notion of virtue signaling, which essentially is kind of a bad thing. Virtue signaling is that, you only flex your virtue. I call it virtue flexing, where you're trying to show how virtuous you are through how good a person you are. Now the problem with virtue signaling is this, is that a lot of times when people, how's it going, man? When people so the problem is when a lot of people virtue signal, I actually feel like it's very disingenuous, which means people only try to act virtuous for the rewards it will give them rather than being virtuous for the sake of being virtuous. Now, even till now, I haven't really found a good definition of virtue, so I'll give it my own take, or I'll give it my own spin. So this is the gist. So virtue, morally and free, virtu, V-I-R-T-U, the kind of in the Italian sense, is kind of like human greatness, human magnanimity, and that's it, right? So the question is, what does it mean for a human to be great? And what does it mean for a human to become magnanimous? There's a notion that Aristotle talks about, I think in his Nicomachean Ethics, or Politics, one of those, where he calls about the megalo-psychon or something like that. Essentially it means the great spirit or the great soul. And I think the soul is indistinguishable from the body. So if you want to become the most apex magnanimous person, you need to be physically swole, but also mentally swole and intellectually swole, and also maybe virtue swole or wisdom swole. Because what we want is, we don't want information or knowledge. What we're actually hungry for is actually wisdom. Now, wisdom is also one of those weird things too, because what is wisdom? My thought on wisdom is essentially it's knowledge or information which is practical and pragmatic, which actually augments the human spirit and augments our ability to become more powerful, whether physically, mentally, or whatever. And it's to augment interesting ideas. So to become more virtuous, to me, there's different ways. How does one become a great spirit or a great soul? First, I think I'm like Nassim Taleb, I take the via negativa approach, is decide what not to do. Don't complain. Don't be petty. Don't be a coward. Stuff like that. And to me, these are actually far more robust notions than telling people what to do. Because things will always change, right? What is virtuous to me isn't what is virtuous to you. And so, seeking virtue, seeking wisdom seems to be the key. The definition is all subjective, and just determine and dictate for yourself.